Hello and welcome to the third rail. If you follow the channel, you might have seen a couple of videos about a temporary Märklin layout I am currently working on. If you haven't, I strongly recommend you watch the other videos in the series accessible via the little card at the top of the screen now. In the last episode, we fixed an electrical gremlin on one of the ramps. We connected all the power feeds on the main line. We put our transformers in phase and laid a few lighting circuits and did a quick power test on the main lines. I am now ready for phase 3, in which I will connect my accessories and provision my Wi-Fi controls. First, I will check that the lighting circuits I laid in the last episode are operational. So I will plug in the lighting wire of the turnout to the lighting circuit, and as you can see, the little lantern lights up, so that means the power is coming from the lighting transformer to the turnout, and the return through the track back to the lighting transformer is working. Our common ground is operational. We can also use this common ground to check that the accessory is functional by simply touching briefly the connectors for the turnout control to the outer rail or inner rail. It's the same, and we see that the ground contact needed by the accessory to be triggered is also working. Perfect. Common ground done. On to signals. So for those not familiar with the Märklin system, let's go briefly over the various little things I have to do to install those signals. So apart from getting the signal out of its box and untangling the wires slightly, there's a base plate which is meant to slide under the track. We're going to see that in a second. So I just checked that everything's mechanically in order. I'm looking for any type of resistance. The arm of the signal should move really freely without getting caught anywhere. If it gets caught, it means there's something wrong somewhere in the innards of the signal, but this one's okay. So then we slide the signal into its base. There's a couple of latches on the side of the base of the signal and some slots on the base plate. You just press the signal in there. So the base plate is engineered to simply clip under the track bed. For that we simply need to slide the base under the track and apply a bit of pressure from the top. And the signal is now in place and ready to be connected. So now I'll just do a quick function check. First of all, I'll connect the lighting circuit if I manage to disentangle it. There we go. Come on. So we connect this to the lighting circuit, and then I'll grab the control cables, and I'm simply going to use the track to switch the signal to ground, and I'm looking for an immediate response. I'm going to use a block system, so it's important that things work without delay. Perfect, that's working. I'm now ready to set up the stopping section for this signal. So the stopping section is an isolated section of track. The power to that section of track is controlled by a relay and the red wires from the signal. There are two red wires on the signal. One is used to tap the power from a center connector ahead of the signal, and the other one feeds the power into the braking section. So I'll start by insulating one end of the stopping section. For this I'll use a simple piece of isolating tape, which I slide between the center contact and the road bed, and I wrap it around the contact so that no current can flow through. I then reinsert that rail in its original position, making sure that the isolated contact is on top of the other one. I now insert the feed wire connector onto the center connector of this piece of the stopping section. There we go. And I then isolate the other end of the stopping section as I did before with a little piece of tape. I'm going to insert that in the other direction, of course. So the bare connector I will insert on top of the feed connector I've just inserted. There we go, so that we have a nice snug contact. I then insert the piece of track ahead of the stopping section. Again, the insulating tape must be on top of the other connector. And I then will insert the other feed wire on the center connector between the turnout and that last piece of track, and that will be where the signal is getting the power to feed to the stopping section when its aspect is changed to green. There we go. We just need to find the fish plate as usual. Come on. Okay, we are done, ready to test. And for that I use my lucky shunter again, and I'll operate the signal manually. So if I lift the arm, the shunter goes. Let's try it in the other direction. Come on, let's have some re-railing problems. There we go. Yeah, it's working. Perfect. Let's try the parallel track as I've done it in the meantime as well. Yeah, both are working. Right, and I need to repeat that around the layout. So I'm proceeding in that order because this task, as you've seen with all the disassembling and reassembling, shifting, etc., is the most disruptive. After that it will only be a matter of plugging things in and doing some on-off type tests or push-button type tests, which will not require an intervention on the track. So all this took a few hours on a very cold Sunday afternoon, but we managed it, and in the end I am finally at a stage where I can start installing the manual controls. For this purpose I use a little solution called Amtrak Reloaded. So what's Amtrak Reloaded? Well, it's a solution I designed in order to be able to control my Märklin accessories wirelessly. It comprises of a switch, a little command station based on a Raspberry Pi, serving software that can be accessed via an iPad or mobile phone. This saves me wiring and gives me the flexibility to retrofit controls as and when required. It does this whilst preserving the analog look and feel of the operation, and I've added a few 21st century modcons such as routing or turntable control or crane control to the solution. If you want more information about the solution, there are a few cards displayed now on screen. One points to a playlist with short feature overviews, and the other one points to a playlist where I go more in depth into the development process. Let's go over the basics briefly. In the Märklin system, accessories are controlled using little switch boxes, which are either blue for the older version or white for the newer ones. This works very well, but usually generates an extensive amount of cabling. But it's very easy to use. The relevant control cables are plugged in to color-coded ports at the back of the switch box, like so. The switch box itself is connected to ground, the accessory to lighting, and pressing the button will activate either control by switching it to ground using a momentary connection. My little wireless switch replaces this box and all the wiring that is normally required to make it work. I have designed it so that it works in a similar way from a connectivity perspective. The plugs from the various accessories connect directly onto the board. The board is also engineered to distribute the lighting circuit. So each accessory can be connected to the wireless switch and will receive its lighting connection from there. The wireless switch can control a pair of accessories, so in this case I'll connect another signal. Again, the other signal will also get its lighting from the board. I'll then connect the control cable to the relevant ports on the side of the wireless switch, and I'm now ready to power up the switch. For that I need first of all to connect it to ground. For this I've made myself a little contraction using a catenary mast base which will slide under the trackbed and gets its ground connection from there. So I'll connect the ground cable to the port on the board. I then slide the base of the catenary mast under the trackbed. So now the switch is connected to ground, and to power all this I just need one connection from the lighting cable, and as you can see all the signals are lit and there was a brief blue light on the wireless switch. After a small configuration task in the software, I can then access a dashboard via my iPad and control my accessories remotely. As you can see now on screen, the signals respond to my commands on the dashboard. So I went around the layout and set up wireless switches everywhere they are needed, and after an hour and a half I was finally ready with the dashboard populated with everything I installed. There are a couple of things I won't need to connect. For example, the turnouts at the exits of each station. The Märklin turnouts are engineered to allow a trailing point movement, so that's where a train enters the turnout when it is set the wrong direction. So in this case, for example, the turnout is set to round and the wagon is coming from the straight side of the turnout. When the wagon goes over the turnout, its wheels will force the blades of the turnout to adopt the direction appropriate for the direction of travel, and we let the wagon through. So if we push the wagon over the round turnout, you see it goes without any issue. Then the turnout reverts back to the position it was set before, and if we push the wagon in the other direction, it will simply go over the turnout as it's supposed to. As I'm going to use those turnouts only in one direction and won't need to change them, I leave them disconnected. But I thought I'd mention this bit of anecdotal information. I always found it quite clever from Märklin to have done things this way. So after a bit of tidying up and packing a few things away, we're ready for a first function test. We'll simply send the loco from signal to signal and we'll see if it stops and start. So it's just a matter of finding the right switch on the dashboard. There we go, and we're off. The signal will drive to the next signal. Hopefully stop there. Yes. Then I'll let it go again. I'll let it go to the, or it will go to the next signal. Stop there again. Yes. I'll let it go again, and we'll carry on like that all around the layout. If there's any problem on the way, then I'll be able to fix it. But fortunately for me, everything's working fine, and we are now ready for the next phase. So that will be block system, but it's a topic for the next episode. For now, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. That's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank all the new subscribers who recently joined the channel. It's nice to see that people are interested in what I produced, and so much so that they subscribe to be notified of any new content on the channel. It's very rewarding. But for now, bye and see you next time.